Welcome back for another helping of oysters, clams, and cockles, the #1 House of the Dragon podcast in the realm, presented by Bolin Media. I am your host, Ross Bolin, joined as always by Barrett Dudley, straight into the studio from watching the episode. I'm going to get these kids' names right tonight, Barrett. That's my goal.
Okay, all right.
It's my personal goal.
How do you feel? Do you feel? Are you feeling good about getting them right?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not. I won't lie to you. I had 3 other people in the room with me tonight watching the episode.
Yeah.
And several times I went, and his name is what again? I was getting help from the audience. It's like I'd phone a friend or whatever, and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
How's watching with like several other people? Like
only one time did I have to say like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like everybody simmer, stop talking, because we got on a roll at one point where we all like chimed in with a joke. I'll share some of them with you later on in today's show.
Yeah. When apropos.
But then I was like, all right, we all stop it. Too much talking.
Yeah.
But it was okay. It was okay.
You guys were doing like a master pancake Alamo Drafthouse type thing, just like roasting the show, like adding your own jokes to the the dialogue.
It got a little out of control at one point. I won't lie to you. But we are here today to discuss episode 8 of House of the Dragon. Lord of the Tides is the title, as it were. I use the Google machine because it doesn't share with us.
It does not share. No,
it really is starting to bug me how they don't change it, like to where right after the episode's over, it should be. It still says episode 8. It's just
okay.
Why? What's the secrecy about it?
When you upload the episode, when it's ready to go on the app, why doesn't it just say the name of the episode?
I used to think it was to prevent spoilers, but at this point, I'm like, what? What the hell am I going to draw from any of these titles that would have spoiled the episode anyway?
Yeah, no, that doesn't track for me. But yeah, I never know the episode title.
Yeah. Before we jump in, hit bolinmedia.com/shop to grab yourself some OCC merch. We've got a Save a Horse, Ride a Dragon tee, new OCC logo shirts and hats and such. Barrett's wearing the Tanner Lannister official fan club t-shirt tonight for all the Tanner Lannister fans out there. You'll appreciate that.
And Tanner Lannister, more than almost anybody I've ever known, loves a good dinner party, as do I. And Tanner knows also, like Larry David, that you got to have the right middles at a dinner party. And suffice it to say, we did not have the right middle. You can't have Viserys in the middle at this dinner party. He needs to be at the head. He needs to be at the head.
You got to have better organizing there.
You got right. No, he can't. He because you want him to be able to say his piece to the whole group, but then also just kind of put him out to pasture down on the end when it's time. Otherwise, here's what happens. I mean, we're going to get there, but you lose control of the edges.
That's the problem.
And that's the
edges become problematic.
Yeah. And Tanner and I both know that. So support Tanner Lannister and Bolin Media at the same time.
Tanner Lannister official fan club, bolinmedia.com/shop. All right, let's do this. It has been 6 years, count them, 6 years. Rhaenys has not
potentially a little bit more than 6.
Potentially a little more and change.
But
let's say 6
in that
and
range.
change. Yeah. But the fact is, Rhaenys has not seen Corlys in 6 years, and Vaemond, I believe it is, shows up to tell her, his neck has been slashed by a Corsair dagger.
Yeah, what's a Corsair dagger?
Don't know, but sounds like it's potentially worse than a normal dagger, Barrett, to where perhaps the lingering effects of the Corsair dagger they may kill this man.
Right.
Corlys may die.
He's got the black fever, it sounds like.
The black fever,
yeah,
which is claimed many a man younger than he.
Half his age.
Half
his age. Yeah, this is one of the just like insane parts about these time jumps is that inevitably we jump forward multiple years and it's like, oh yeah, that guy, dead. Way dead.
He's gone.
He's gone. He's just gone.
And he's gone.
So, don't know if we're going to see our boy Corlys there again.
We don't know. We don't see him this episode. Everybody's concerned that he may die. Apparently, he's really messed up. He's got some burning from within situation going on as a result of the Corsair dagger. Not what you want.
And all he ever cared about was the history books anyway, that one.
I know, right? What a book nerd.
Not the actual Valerians and their bloodline and like the people at Driftmark,
Yeah, according to Vaemond.
Yeah.
Yeah. He thinks Corlys is dead, and he wants the Driftmark throne for himself. What is it? The Driftwood throne?
The Driftwood throne at Driftmark.
And it's made of driftwood.
Yeah.
And Rhaenys is sitting in it, and we get to see it. It's pretty cool.
It's much like many of the brands within the Marriott, overarching brand.
Sure,
right?
sure.
You got Marriott, but you also have Courtyard at the Marriott.
Right.
Or I think there are a couple others even.
Yeah, of course.
Right? So this is it's the Driftwood at the Driftmark.
Sick. It's a 3.5-star resort. But Vaemon wants to take Driftmark from Rhaenys and against Corlys's wishes, obviously. He says
a lot of boat rides at the resort.
He says there is a queen on the Iron Throne right now, not a king. And there's the obvious implication that perhaps the king is so unwell, as he ended up being, that the queen has been sitting on the Iron Throne, but we'll get to that later. Just kind of a shocking line to come out up front. Like, they're telling us a lot has changed again. Daemon is digging out dragon eggs from a cliffside somewhere.
Oh, yeah, man, I almost forgot. Cyrax brought forth a clutch.
It's a clutch, his latest clutch.
Yeah.
Huge. 3 new eggs to be placed in the warming chamber, Barrett.
Yeah.
Got to get them in there.
We got to see a little bit about how you got to go about, finding these eggs.
It's some kind of alien goo situation.
Right. Yeah, and you got to crack into it and then pull out the egg.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Absolutely insane. One of the more funny, kind of out of nowhere scenes that we've had so far, I would say, in House of the Dragon. There's a few that stand out from Game of Thrones. The fireball throwing children at one point.
The egg scene?
Yeah, him pulling out the egg from the alien goo basket.
Yeah, it did. It was straight. He was even crawling down a crevice to get there, right?
Right.
He's deep in a cavern somewhere. And it did feel very, all of a sudden we were just in Prometheus. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So, yeah, good news, though. Just dragons on dragons on dragons for this guy and his fam. Although they did lose Big Bad Vagar, I guess. But anyway, doesn't matter right now. Daemon receives a scroll that I could not read fast enough.
Doesn't matter because I'm pretty sure it was all in Valyrian anyway.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Rhaenyra is pregnant and teaching Jace to speak High Valyrian along with some teacher. And remember, Jace is the one who is in line to be king of the 7 kingdoms.
That's right.
After Rhaenyra. Okay?
Yeah, also...
The most at-risk, I would say, child of Rhaenyra's for this reason.
Correct. And our patrons will know, we discussed this on Thursday, but we anticipated that there would be some baby making going on between
Daemon and
Rhaenyra. And we were right. There has been baby making, and we see that she's pregnant here. Little do we know, we'll find out just a few scenes later, that this is their 3rd.
If you're ever wondering, is that woman pregnant, and you don't want to ask, just wait and see if she does the tummy rub.
Ah, yes. Rests her hands on the tum. Yep.
Rhaenyra gives us the pregnant rub, and it lets you know.
Right.
It's a nice little indicator.
Yeah.
Me and my wife, we didn't get seated at a restaurant earlier, and she's pregnant, and she did the rub to try to get us seated. It didn't work. But she did go for it, and I committed the effort.
You got to use the tools that are at your disposal.
Absolutely, absolutely. But yes, we were correct. Rhaenyra is pregnant, Daemon's children. It does create this weird rift within that family, I see, down the line.
1,000,000%. Yeah.
So even as these, as some of these beefs are attempted to be squashed, I'm seeing the ones that are coming, generations from now, and I'm just this family's, they're in a bad place.
Yes.
But yeah, Jace learning to speak High Valyrian, he's really hard on himself. He's like, Jace, you stupid bastard. Why can't you remember? Idiot. He's one of those kids, which I can relate to that. That's how my inner child talks to me.
Mm-hmm.
And Daemon brings Rhaenyra the scroll he received, and apparently someone is calling into question Lucerys, as it were. Lucerys is how it's pronounced.
That's
so
right.
far, I've got these names down.
Yeah.
His legitimacy, his claim to Driftmark.
Yeah, they're going to hear a petition.
And the Driftwood Throne. There's going to be a petition. And as Rhaenyra points out, questioning Lucerys, by extension, questions everything about her.
That's correct.
And her very claim to the Iron Throne herself. So Daemon and Rhaenyra are headed to King's Landing to attend the petition. And we're going to find out what's going on there, right?
They got to make their own petition.
I mean, even only a few minutes into the episode,
they've been called to court.
We've found out that a lot has changed. A lot is going on. We don't really know what we're walking into here with King's Landing in this episode. But Daemon is Rhaenyra's royal consort now, I would note.
Consort,
thank you.
Yep.
And that's what he's announced as when they arrive at King's Landing. Lord Caswell greets Rhaenyra and informs her something about her father, I assume.
Yeah. So
and his inability to greet her, to be out there greeting them.
I think that's right. And the general vibe that I got, I didn't totally understand what Caswell said there. I did go subtitleless this time around. For all those
you rogue. Nobody knows what you're going to do.
I know they really don't. For all those keeping subtitle score at home.
This episode, episode 8, no subtitles.
No subtitles.
Just subtitle free. Okay. Me still all the way through.
We did not have Viserys talking that much, and he's usually the one that I find myself needing the subtitles for.
Because he goes all Shakespearean.
Because he goes all Shakespearean on me, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, so I wasn't totally sure what he was saying, but I think one of the things that we were supposed to grasp there is that they weren't necessarily being welcomed as the, like, you know, hey, that chick's about to be queen in like 4 days.
Which Daemon does point out to Alicent later in the episode, right? Yeah. Like, you guys failed to welcome us entirely.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been here for like 6 hours, and you're just now showing up, you know, to even say sup.
Right.
Why can't you just say
What's
sup?
What's your problem?
Yeah.
Can't you just say sup? I will note, I wrote in huge all caps, the Stepstones have been settled, because somebody says the Stepstones have been settled. And I was so excited for you and me to come in here and finally put to bed the conversation of the freaking Stepstones. And within 10 minutes, the Stepstones were unsettled.
That's where Corlys got his neck cut by the Corsair dagger.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, no, they're unsettled. He had to go back to the Stepstones.
Gotta stay out there in the Stepstones.
The triarchy is resurgent.
It is. It is resurgent, the triarchy. Yeah. Got to be careful of that triarchy,
I mean,
Barrett.
it's like Rhaenyra sat right there at the small council meeting and said, we weren't proactive about this. This is like a decade ago, I'm pretty sure, by the way.
Yeah.
We should be we should have a presence there, just always now, you know?
Let's get our dragons out there and flame some people.
We gotta nip this in the bud constantly. We just constantly have to be burning out this weed, or else it's gonna rear its ugly head. And guess what? It did. Rhaenyra was right, and now Corlys got his neck cut.
Yeah. So we go into a council meeting where Lord Beesbury is giving an exhausting account of of accounting, and he gets reprimanded as such. Alicent has brought the 7-pointed star into the Red Keep. It is everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's around her neck.
The whole place has been redecorated.
Basically, after the episode, they sort of credit that to her trying to cleanse herself of what she had done after she slashed Rhaenyra with the cat's paw dagger.
Yes, she adopted the faith, found God,
religion,
and yet I don't think, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we ever got like a clear shot of where once there was Targaryen erotica, now there is none. But they did mention inside the episode that as part of this redecoration and kind of like, you know, renovation of the Red Keep, the fact that she has taken over and you know is putting all this faith core around everywhere.
Faith core, I love it. Yeah,
she's gotten rid of the erotica. No more porn on the walls.
The erotic, what were they? Tarps, blankets. I can't remember now. Tapestries. They were tapestries.
Yeah.
They were erotic tapestries, and now they're gone. All of the Targaryen paraphernalia has been replaced with the, what'd you call it?
Faith core.
Faith core. The faith core, yeah. But the 7-pointed star's freaking everywhere, which obviously Rhaenyra notes. Like,
yeah.
I would say it's good to be home, but it doesn't even feel like home. It looks so different.
And another fun callback, or call forward, as it were, to the High Sparrow in Game of Thrones.
Yes.
They're even talking about like a festival for the mother.
Religion was even a problem.
She's talking about how she's going to be guided by the wisdom of the father.
Uh-huh.
So there's all that.
The stranger has seen Rhaenys many, many times.
That's right.
The stranger. Right. Who could forget the stranger?
All of that 7-pointed star. What is it? Lord, something of the Seven?
Lord of the Flies.
That one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's all over the place.
So there's going to be a petition to decide the fate of Lucerys' claim on Driftmark. Alicent is informed there is a delicate situation in Viserys' apartments. So the next thing we see is Rhaenyra and Daemon entering Viserys'
Aaron. This is the guard.
Oh.
Aaron. That's the guard's name.
That's the guard's name?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
How do you think that one's spelled?
Aerond. But maybe because I saw it on the subtitles, so it's already in my brain. It's possible.
There you go. See, look at you with these names.
Question:
You don't know Jake and Luke, but like.
Yeah, but I took notes like a stenographer tonight, Barrett. I mean, I was really typing away with the laptop as the episode was going. The 3 people watching in the room with me had to be absolutely miserable.
You should get out your clicky clacky one, your gaming ship.
Oh,
laptop.
that thing's way too loud. Then I can't even hear what. It is a gaming ship laptop though. So. when they enter his chambers, the first thing I noticed is, of course, he's got his little toy city, right? And there was like smoke rising from it. I was confused about what they were trying to draw attention to. And on second thought, I was like, was it that there had been religious stuff installed in there too? And I didn't notice, or was something burning, or was it not being tended to? What the fuck is going on there?
My read here was, one, you can see a lot of cobwebs.
It's like a fish tank. You got to take care of it type of situation.
It's been untouched. He's been, on his deathbed
so sick, he can't
for a
even
long
play.
time, and last time that we saw him in the Red Keep, he had a guy in there like helping him build it all out.
Right,
and he was still like caring for it and adding to it and continuing the hobby. Now all that's gone.
What the hell has got smoke coming from one?
He's not doing it. So it's untouched. It's gathering dust and cobwebs. And the smoke, I just thought that was like, you could be right. It could be more of the could have something to do with the religion, but I just thought it was like incense or like
because of the smell,
something to clear the air, or like for him to help him breathe, like.
Because when you look at Viserys,
some type of aromatherapy.
Yeah, when you look at Viserys in this episode, you can kind of smell him. Like you know what he smells like.
There were memes a week or two ago, with like the phases of Viserys, and then the fourth one was just Gollum. And they fulfilled the prophecy. They fulfilled the meme prophecy here.
He really, really Gollum'd
He's
here.
full Gollum here, basically.
Yeah, rough. Looking really rough. He's got no hair.
You could basically smell him, but like he was borderline difficult to look at, man. Like
zombie-esque, right?
Yeah,
like Spectre-esque.
I mean, when
he's got one freaking eye.
Yeah, when he takes the face mask off, looking like a full on, Bond villain or something.
Yeah. I mean, you can see the back of his skull, man.
Right.
Like, it's a hole clear through his head.
Yeah. Couldn't you don't you think you could just like look in and like see brain?
Isn't stuff living in there? Like, what's happening? But yeah, so he doesn't look good. His hair's gone. He's got one eye. He's very much dying. My wife pointed out that he's wearing the puffy pirate shirt from Seinfeld.
Okay.
Those are his jammies, both at the beginning of the episode and at the end.
Yeah.
He is wearing, literally, Jerry Seinfeld's puffy pirate shirt, except a slightly off-colored version of it.
But I don't want to be a pirate.
So, yeah, the triarchy is resurgent. The fighting is anew in the Stepstones. Things are not peaceful there, just to be clear. Daemon wants Viserys to appoint Lucerys as Corlys' successor. So basically, Daemon and Rhaenyra come into Viserys' chambers to plead with him to do something. He has not been doing anything, is the impression, right? He's been in there sick. He's dying.
Yeah,
and they need him to step up.
Yes, and they are, they're killing two birds with one stone here with just doping him up on milk of the poppy. One that eases the pain and keeps him
sedated
at ease, but
also
it keeps him just like chilling in his bed, laying in his chambers, not coming out to even try or attempt to do any type of leading or kinging.
He can't set anything right as he tries to do later in the episode, right? So Viserys says that Alicent and Otto see to all of those things now when Daemon is pleading with him to change or to appoint Lucerys as Corlys' successor. Rhaenyra introduces Viserys, her father, to his grandchildren that are hers with Daemon, right? Aegon is one of them, so there's another Aegon. This is out of control. And then there's a Viserys.
Yes.
Look, it's little Viserys.
Yeah.
Now, this guy. Now, is that the dude you want to be named after? Rotting away there?
Were you able to make heads or tails of which one of these young lads was older?
Nope.
Yeah. Okay.
Nope.
Just a curiosity, right? Like, does everybody like?
I like that you pushed me there though, because I've gotten their names down. Now I've got to get their ages.
Well, I don't know, and I was wondering, like, oh, okay. Do you always name your first one after the Conqueror himself?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good point.
Did you kind of like go out on a limb and name your firstborn with Daemon after your old pop?
I mean, it almost seemed like she was like, "Hey, this is Aegon, and enough of him. Here's my newer one, Viserys, like the younger one." Right. It did seem like the youngest, the newest was Viserys.
That is the impression that I got as well. If I had to put a bet down, you know, I'm going that Viserys was the younger one. Yeah.
So Viserys asks for his tea, and that's when we get this whole, immediately Daemon smells the cup, and he's like, "Oh, they're keeping this old man doped up. I know milk of the poppy smell when I smell it, Barrett."
Yeah, and this was the first moment where I just like I thought this episode was good, and obviously like had a bunch of good scenes and a bunch of good performances. But thank God for Matt Smith. Thank God Matt Smith is on this show.
He's great.
Because he's also like the only one that seemingly is allowed to have any fun with his character.
And he's our constant. I wouldn't argue that, because I thought like Paddy Considine had some good fun with Viserys before he started getting so sickly that he couldn't have fun anymore.
Okay. Yeah.
There have been some good, but yes, Matt Smith has most of the fun, I would say.
Right. And so this was like a heavy episode with a lot of tension and a lot of like politicking and a lot of like information about what's happened over the last 6 years.
A lot of spending time in a deathbed.
And a lot of dead guy, a lot of nearly dead guy with a half a face.
Dying people room.
And so even just something like little small moments of levity, like him looking at the cup and like doing funny faces and smelling it, and that whole thing was just like, was pretty welcome. And he gets a few moments like that.
And he adds a lot of depth with him too, where it's not just that he smelled the cup, it's almost that he smelled the cup and was like, of course they're drugging him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, of course this is not, just that he's sick. It's also that they're keeping him like this so that he won't be able to do anything about what we need him to do. So next we see Alicent question a girl named Diana, Dyana. Diana. Who was sexually assaulted by the prince. Presumably the window jacker was my note. And it was, of course.
You were correct.
Jacker.
Yep.
So we saw that sexual deviancy coming. Kid dropping loads out the window onto the public. And now he's having some very serious accusations levied his way. Alicent basically scares the girl into keeping quiet. Like, the girl ends up swearing on her life not to mention it to anyone else.
And gets a whole big bag of gold.
She gets a bag of gold and some Plan T, which Alicent then watches her chug the Plan T. And I wasn't really clear on what was going to happen to that girl. Because my immediate thought was, she's a goner. Because why just give her the Plan T and plan on her being able to keep her mouth shut when you could whack her? And later on, someone comes in and asks about her. They're like, where's Diana? She's supposed to dress the children. And Alicent goes and hugs that person, and that's the end of the scene. And I was like, wait, what just happened? Was that hug to be like, oh, I'm so sorry, your friend is dead? Like, what? And then if that's the case, then why the Plan T? If you were just going to whack her. So I'm really curious to see if Diana comes back into play.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Something weird was going on there.
I also flagged the hug as just like I don't know what that was. And what I actually thought is that girl, the blonde chick that came in and said that was potentially Helena.
Okay.
But then we see Helena at the dinner, and I'm not, because she's married to Aegon.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that was the same girl. So so
Aegon did end up marrying her.
I believe that is correct.
That is ridiculous. Yeah. His family.
And so, that's a good question, because that hug did seem kind of like, what?
How is that your response?
What's going on there?
I just asked you a question, lady.
I'm with you though. I was 75% sure that Alicent was going to murder this
young lady?
This young lady here.
Servant girl.
In the room. It's possible that was not Plan T, and that was Plan D for death.
Wow. That's deep, Barrett. That's deep.
Because it didn't totally look the same, right? Like it didn't, like it had like a blue tint to it. And
if you're wondering, Plan P is penis.
The Plan T was I feel like I remember it having like more of an amber glow.
And this was purpley?
This was kind of purple blue, icy looking.
Could have been Plan D.
It's possible that that was just a death drink.
Murderer.
And then she just tossed her in the furnace or something like that. But I definitely was worried for poor Diana's safety.
Yeah.
There.
So Alicent goes in and wakes up Aegon. She's furious. And it's a new actor, new Aegon. And he's married, which we find out is to his sister. And he does not give a shit at all. So Alicent slaps him, and she says, "You are no son of mine," which is like the worst thing you can say to your son, right? You they have to have done something really, really bad. So this is like, you get the impression this kid has done nothing good, right? This is really, really bad, but this is not the first thing he's done. He's been in trouble nonstop. He's a problem.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that I got the impression there that this is like, I don't know, rape number 7 for him.
Like this is a pattern.
Like this is, yeah.
This
is bad news. This guy's bad.
So a girl comes in looking for Diana. This is when Alicent hugs her. It's in front of, the only reason I'm mentioning it again is because that did happen in front of Aegon.
Yeah.
then Alicent goes and sees Rhaenyra and Daemon, who remind her they were not greeted upon arrival, and talk about the Maesters giving Viserys drugs. They basically call her out on that. But just as with everything else with this show, she has a perfectly reasonable explanation, right? She's like, you didn't see him suffering. It's to ease his suffering. He was like basically like so miserable nobody could even watch it, right? Yeah. And with everything in this show, you're kind of given reason to believe each party and their position, right? Well, I understand this guy's position, and I understand this person's, but I understand this, but and it makes it pretty impossible to pick sides.
Yeah.
And I would also just note, as I'm thinking of it off the top of my head, this episode kept reminding me, or seeming to me to be like an allegory almost for like current American politics, where it's like, why can't we all just get along? Why can't we all just love each other? If you don't stop this infighting, we're going to ruin everything. That kind of deal. Those vibes were strong.
Yeah.
Which I thought added just an interesting layer to it all, where I was like, it's so relevant. This entire thing seems so relevant to what we're dealing with politically in the United States in 2022.
Yeah. And let's put a pin in that, because I want to come back to that thought when we get to the final dinner scene.
I'll pin it.
But I also, so just to go back quickly to the Aegon sexual assault, and then the way that Alicent handled Diana. I feel like maybe the show prior to this episode has been, if not kind of generally pushing you towards the blacks over the greens, then that maybe they're kind of like fainting that way or signaling that way, and then the larger viewing population, and by that I mean Twitter.
Yeah. House of the Dragon Twitter
has very, 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 very much sided already early on with Rhaenyra, basically.
Yeah, they went with Dany's family,
and that Alicent, is just absolute trash. And I was like a little bit, I didn't feel nearly as strongly as that about these two sides.
Right.
The Diana moment, and the fact that we learned that Aegon is potentially out here just like a serial rapist,
right,
just terrorizing all of the servants in the Red Keep, was like, okay, that was like a clear signal. These are the bad guys for me.
Yeah, and it's at this point, that's what I love about the show, is that they're not making it as easy as House of the Dragon Twitter is making it out to be. Now, I don't know how many of those people are book readers too, so like they may know a lot of this more evil stuff that we don't.
Yes, but I think that is definitely a portion of it.
I'm with you. I was leaning toward Team Black.
Yep.
From the get-go, like from episode 1. You're just drawn to the Targaryen family. Come on.
Yes. The show's about them.
And then as we were introduced to the Greens, to the Green faction, to Alicent and to Otto, and it became more difficult to be all the way Team Rhaenyra. And it's just in Team Daemon, and it's just gotten more and more muddled for me.
Yeah.
Yes, some of the scenes in this episode certainly pushed me back in the direction of the blacks, but there's still this, like, there's a lot of underlying stuff we're going to get to that makes me metal. I'm just like floating around in the middle right now. But so Daemon also, in this conversation where Daemon and Rhaenyra are talking with Alicent about what's going on with Viserys.
Yeah.
Daemon calls her out for taking down all the Targaryen stuff and putting up the 7-pointed star. And then, even more importantly, they find out that it sounds like they ask her point blank, who's going to be presiding over this thing tomorrow? Is it going to be your religion or your religious? And I think she said yes.
Yeah.
But then it's Otto sitting up there on the Iron Throne. So is Otto the head of the church? Possibly?
Okay.
Or something weird?
What I believe what they're saying there is essentially like, basically, who's making the decisions tomorrow? Is it what Viserys wants? Are you asking him? And then you're going to,
or are you running the show?
Or are you running the show?
And she says, I am.
And she basically says, we are. But fortunately, everything that I decide is like based off of this religion. And the Father has, has allowed me to forget what you've accused me of and all the things that you're insinuating here.
Right. Right.
So that she was basically like, it's
failed threats.
It's going to be us deciding, but like, the religion thing that we're doing around these parts currently will also factor in, which basically was also like a kind of an early tell that like, we think what you did is real fucked up and against God, and so we certainly won't side with that.
Right. Which is also relevant today in 2022 somehow. Today's episode is brought to you by Felix Gray Glasses, the best blue light glasses in the game for watching House of the Dragon in comfort and style. 5 years ago, Felix Gray set out to create eyewear that would improve daily screen time, and since then, they've been on a mission to create a better relationship with technology. Felix Gray filtering 15 times more blue light with their lenses that can make screen time tough on eyes and disruptive to sleep. I've been working on the internet for over a decade. I spend like 10 hours a day staring at screens. My eyes get worn out, and when I'm done with work, I like to relax by watching my favorite shows and movies and gaming, all of which involve even larger, more intense screens. So a few years ago when I was introduced to Felix Gray, everything changed. They're incredible. They're the quality of designer frames. It's not cheap blue light coating that chips off. That never happens. I've had like 8 pairs. None of them have ever had any chipping or cheapness. They're just incredible quality designer frames that are stylish and functional as they protect your eyes from all the blue light that the screens we rely upon emit. If you're like me, it's hard to cut back on screen time, but you can do your eyes a solid. Get yourself some Felix Grays to get relief from those headaches, dry eyes, blurry vision, and what have you that occurs over the course of your workday, because, Barrett, you wouldn't go into battle without a suit of armor. You shouldn't go into work with the screens without a pair of Felix Grays. My favorite frames are the Faraday, the Nash, and today I'm wearing the West frames. Go to felixgrayglasses.com/OCC to support the show and get free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges, so you got nothing to lose. Non-prescription and prescription are available. They've got sleepy time glasses for before you go to bed, Barrett. They help you fall asleep.
Amber lens. I've got an amber lens pair. It's nice.
FELIXGRAY glasses.com/OCC for free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges. That's felixgrayglasses.com/OCC. Next, we see Lucerys in the training yard. Lucerys? Lucerys. It's Lucerys. See, that because I keep wanting to say Lucerys, which is like more Satan-y.
Right.
But it's Lucerys.
Yeah.
Like Viserys, except Lucerys.
Lucerys.
He's in the training yard watching Kristen Cole fight with Aemond, who lost his eye.
Yeah.
And he is a total badass with an eye patch now.
Yes.
Real good at sword fighting, Barrett.
He is. Now,
little sparring match here with Kristen Cole.
Let's talk about this sparring match.
Okay.
Because
you want to break it down, break down the film?
Kristen Cole, yeah, I do.
All
because
right.
This is a scrimmage.
Yeah.
And Kristen Cole is out here with a full-on Morningstar swinging this thing around like he's going to hurt somebody.
You got to practice like you play, Barrett.
That's insane, though.
Yeah.
I assume that he is playing to win. I mean, it looks pretty serious out there. He's swinging the giant metal ball with spikes around hard and fast.
I mean,
he's breaking shields. He's going after like.
That's true. He did shatter a shield.
This is nuts.
I always think about this when they're doing the sparring in the training yard. I'm like, because in some shows, like in Dune, most recently, a movie that I watched, a film, you may have heard of it, stars Timothée Chalamet and many others.
Great film. Not that many people watched it, apparently.
Loved Dune. Loved it. There's a scene where Timothée Chalamet's character, who there's a little Funko of him behind your head, ironically, he's sword training.
Jon Snow.
He's sword training. No, it's not. And he's also next to Gandalf and a minion. He's sword training, and him and the dude he sword trains with, they turn on their little switches.
Yeah, right.
So that they're in practice mode, and they can't kill each other. That doesn't happen in Thrones. They just swing the swords at each other.
Okay, but with swords, I've always assumed that these are like
training swords. Blunted.
You've got your smiths out there. They're making the real thing.
Yeah.
For the battles.
Yeah.
You know.
But this thing, you're talking about this mace he's swinging around, this crazy Morningstar.
You get the blunt swords, so that if you hit somebody accidentally, you're not gonna go full Daemon on Vaemond.
It just bruises. It doesn't cut.
Yeah, right. It would bruise or break, or you can still get hurt, but nobody's dying out here for the most part.
Sure.
And then you also with swords, you do the thing where you're like, ha ha,
ka-ka, da-da,
yeah, and you're like,
you pokey, you do a little pokey.
Yeah, you do a little like, I would have got you in the neck.
Right, and you stop.
I would have got you in the knee.
You stop.
And you stop. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Dune, it lights up red. It's like, you would have got there.
Yeah. Kristen Cole is just flinging this thing around like if
Kristen smash.
If Aemond just were to just drop his arm for a second, just he dead. Like that morning star is just crushing his face and skull.
Hey, Kristen, what happened? Well, we were in the training yard, and I decided to get out the morning star, and they're like, oh, I brought out the morning star again. Has to show off the morning star, always with the morning star, and he killed another one.
Yeah, so
it is interesting.
I had to bring that up because it just seems like a dangerous way to train. But Aemond One Eye here is a dangerous guy, I would say.
He wins. He ends up being the one that's like, aha, I would have.
He does the thing. Yeah,
I would have stabbed you in the neck there. You better say I win, or whatever.
You better say uncle.
Say uncle.
Speaking of uncle, there's my nephews.
So Viserys discusses the question of his claim in Driftmark with his other brother, I believe it is.
Yeah.
And he's like, you could tell, he's like, I want to do the stuff and the things, but he's just such a little shit. Like we said from day one, these kids are turds.
These kids are turds.
Even later in the fight.
Turds.
Oh my God, it's a mess. We'll get to it. Vaemond Valerian rolls into the training yard, and he looks real intense, and there's like this intense music for him. And he goes and meets with Alicent and Otto. So Vaemond is quickly on team Alicent and Otto. He joins in the Greens, okay? And he's like, Otto actually says that they're on the brink of war, okay? They can't have a child in charge of the greatest fleet in Westeros. It's his argument for the Driftmark, which is a sound argument, which is, again, why I'm always like, who am I rooting for? They're all right. And clearly, Otto is backing Vaemond here is the point, though. Alicent and Otto want to install Vaemond as head of the Driftmark, not Viserys, who Rhaenyra would prefer, obviously. So then Rhea and Rhaenyra...
Important to note that, beyond the sound logic, which sure is sound, but also goes against all precedent and all lordly royal ways of the era and the tradition. I mean, this is a pound for a pound thing, right? Like, they hook up Vaemond here. He is definitely backing them with the entire fleet when they're like, yo, Rhaenyra's not queen.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. It's a strategic move. Then Rhaenyra takes Rhea to greet Rhaenys. You got Rhaenyra, Rhea, and Rhaenys in the Godswood. That's a mouthful. R. And Rhaenyra swears to Rhaenys that she did not order Laenor's death, nor was she complicit in it. Rhaenys tells her she sees through the charade of bringing her granddaughter to try to soften this whole conversation, yada, yada, yada. You can't really tell where Rhaenys lies in terms of... It's basically like Rhaenys is like, look, I know the game is the game. I don't know what happened. You killed my son. My son is dead. He's gone. Somebody's responsible. I hate all of this shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't really get a feel for her underlying emotions here. But Rhaenyra makes Rhaenys an offer that she refuses at first. It's to marry their families together, right? Yep. And Rhaenys walks away and says, tomorrow the High Towers land the first blow. It will bring you to your knees, and I must stand alone. Basically, like, I've got my own fight to fight here.
It also sounded to me in that moment like Rhaenys is going to also petition for the claim.
Right. Like that's what Rhaenyra says.
Yeah.
Are you actually going to stand up there for yourself and say that you're the one who should have it?
But like you're saying as well, like she's also basically like, I'm stepping out of this fray. They're going to land a big one, a big smackaroo.
Good luck.
Big morning star blow, right?
Told you this shit was gonna suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna stand up there and say I'm with you.
Right. Rhaenyra then visits Viserys in his chambers, and Viserys mistakes her for Alicent, which becomes a problem in this episode. The miscommunication on the show is out of control. But in this scene, Rhaenyra asks if Viserys believes Aegon's dream. She's like, I recognize you don't have long. Do you believe this shit? Do I need to take this serious? Because if I do, I've got a lot of work to do here. This is a problem. Do I need to take this seriously? And he's not really able to answer. She goes so far as to say, like, basically, why did you do this to me? Why did you put me in this position? You divided the realm when you named me heir. And it took me a minute to really put this all together. But it is the explanation for the entire conflict we are seeing play out. Viserys believes that Rhaenyra needs to be the person to ascend the Iron Throne because of Aegon's Song of Ice and Fire. That's why. To him, that's the reason. That overrode knowing there would be all this conflict and infighting and bullshit and drama and having a woman and yada, yada, yada. To him, it was about, if I don't do this, everyone dies, right? So it gives him really validity for what seems like an otherwise idiotic fucking move that's caused nothing but problems and pain and suffering. So I thought that was interesting. It just, again, it's like when they first brought up A Song of Ice and Fire, you and I talked about whether or not we liked it. And at that point, I was concerned because it felt like just being a little fan servicey and cheesy to me. Now I see that it's much more tied into the overarching story than I imagined originally, and it doesn't rub me the wrong way anymore. Although I will say, hearing A Song of Ice and Fire mentioned as frequently as it is kind of funny.
That is always a bit jarring. I agree.
Like that they call it what we call it sort of thing, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because they intentionally left that out of Game of Thrones.
Yep.
Very much so.
Yep.
Because they didn't want to cause any further confusion. Now they're embracing it to the point of saying it 7 times an episode. So Rhaenyra says, I thought I wanted it, but the burden is a heavy one. It's too heavy. She can't carry it. You know, she can't carry the ring just like Frodo couldn't. Got to give it to Samwise. Yeah. Share the load. Like Aegon out the window.
She really, I mean, you know, she should abdicate. She should just take the easy way out, Ross. Go back to Dragonstone.
Go home.
Just say you're not going to do it. Just let Alicent, stupid kids, have it. And enjoy your life, man.
Get out of there.
Get out of
there. Screw this Game of Thrones.
Yes.
That's what I say.
Get out of the game.
Yeah. Rhaenyra says, she begs him, if you wish me to bear this, if you wish me to bear it, then this load that you've left me with, then defend me and my children. And she just ends up weeping over him as he's speechless and clearly cannot defend her, right? At that point, that's where we're at. We see him being tended to by the maesters. It's not pretty. Otto oversees the entire thing, which seems pretty important. He's in there the whole time with the doctors while they're doing everything to him.
Yeah, I'm still not. I'm now pretty out on any foul play being done
to Viserys' health.
Minus the like, hey, let's give this guy lots of milk of the poppy because that's easiest for us.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
I've backed out.
Yeah.
That being said, I still find it interesting. Here, I'm not saying they're intentionally harming him. I am saying they're intentionally not helping him. I think Otto is maybe making the maesters do the shittiest possible job. You know what I'm saying? So that he continues to worsen. It's like this guy's just slowly, he's been dying for 15 years now at this point.
Yeah. I can't believe he's made it this long.
It's insane. I mean, I put out a poll on Twitter.
This is a rough disease he's got going, and he's had it for like 17 years now.
And I think it's leprosy is supposed to be what it's a version of.
Patty Considine called it leprosy in an interview, I believe.
Now, that doesn't mean it's leprosy just because he said that.
That's what he referred to it as. So, you know, whether he had some intel or that's what they told him to think of it as, it's basically leprosy. I think that's safe to say. But certainly not the show is not straight up called it that.
Yeah, I put out a poll before this episode started, a couple hours before. I said, will Viserys survive episode 8? 66% said no. And we're correct.
They were correct.
As it were.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Viserys, for those of you that are listening to this podcast
while you
watch the show. Yeah.
Viserys, I always treat it like that's possible, though. Like, you know what I mean? I do treat it like that's possible. Viserys tells Otto that he wants the whole of his family gathered at the Red Keep for supper tonight to dine together. We end up seeing this dinner, obviously.
I want supper.
Yeah. He's still in a ton of pain, though, so Otto tells the maesters to bring milk of the poppy. Viserys refuses it and says, just arrange the supper. At this point, he has very clearly decided, I think as a result of Rhaenyra's weeping.
Yeah, oh yeah.
All right, I've got to get off the fucking hooch.
Yeah.
And I got to get my ass out there and find that fucking dog. You know what I mean? So he refuses milk of the poppy, wants this dinner put together. He's got some purpose.
Yeah. He's got to bear the burden.
Yeah. Got to bear the burden.
If she's going to bear the burden, he's got to bear the burden.
So Otto begins this procession discussing the succession of Driftmark, and he sits on the Iron Throne overseeing the procession, which, again, just feels very significant. And these high towers, man, they're really not afraid to step into anybody else's shoes. We hear Vaemond of House Valerian first. He attacks Lucerys' claim. Rhaenyra rebuts. They get into it. Then Rhaenyra speaks for her children and for Lucerys Valerian. Before she can really get into her speech, though, Viserys himself rolls in. and is announced, and Otto and Alicent are clearly shocked. So is Vaemond. Nobody expected this old man to be able to show up down here and throw a wrench into this entire thing that they had set up very clearly to get Vaemond to be the Lord of the Driftmark, right? Yeah. Lord of the Tides. And it's a powerful scene, man. I mean, the walk, he's got a half gold face mask attached to his crown, covering that side of his face. My co-host on the Ross Bolin podcast, Jared Borislow, said, imagine if you're watching this without music and Viserys is just hobbling silently down the hallway. And it was a very long scene that just like everyone there is completely silent. It's so awkward. But he finally makes it to the steps 20 minutes later, 20 some odd minutes later, and he says, I will sit the Iron Throne today. And I mean, there was a legitimate concern for me that he was going to die on the way, right? Like that he was going to like get up there and then like die.
Yeah. Or I was worried that he was going to like do a little trip and then like fall onto one of the swords.
Because impaled? By like 3 of them?
When Otto's up there, they do like kind of like an overhead shot or something, or kind of a bird's eye.
You're just like, wow.
It's very narrow getting to the throne. You know what I mean?
It's a precarious path. Yeah.
Right. It's like
not good.
If you trip on your way up there,
it's over.
It's probably over for you. Yeah.
And he's up there hobbling along with his cane. It was terrifying. So Viserys, again, he's got the mask on. He's covering half his face. It's all downhill from him getting... Like, it's inspiring, his walk to the throne, and then the last 5 feet is just demoralizing. The crown falls off. Daemon comes to help, which, again, is it's another loving, brotherly...
That was a nice moment. Nice brotherly moment there.
See, look at us trying to get on this guy's team as hard as we can.
I'm all in on Daemon.
I made the note, so many swords for him to fall on. Daemon places the crown back on Viserys' head, and then Viserys gets into his speech. He says, I do not understand why we are having petitions over a settled succession, and basically says, look, the only person here who can speak for Corlys Valerian's wishes is his wife, Rhaenys Valerian, the queen who never was. And she tells the king, she stands up and tells the king, Rhaenys does, that she has accepted Rhaenyra's generous proposal to wed their families together that was offered earlier, and that Corlys always wanted Lucerys to be heir to Driftmark and heir to the Driftwood throne. So Vaemond freaks the fuck out. And, he really loses it. He says he will not allow it. Viserys tells him not to forget himself. He says, that is no true Valerian, and certainly no nephew of mine. He says, you may run your house as you see fit, but you will not decide the future of mine. Which, again, all fair points. If you're looking at it from his perspective, okay, this guy's got like this crazy fake line of people now being introduced. Like, this is my area. What the fuck is just being taken from me? This is ridiculous. So Daemon, at this point, Vaemond is going off, and Daemon goes, say it. Because he's about to call the kids bastards, and Vaemond obliges and calls Rhaenyra a whore on top of that.
Yeah.
So Viserys, I'm sorry, so Daemon cuts off 3/4 of his head.
Yeah.
And leaves his tongue wiggling. Because Viserys stands up, and he's going for the cat's paw dagger, and he says, I'm going to have your tongue for that.
Yeah.
And then Daemon chops that man's head like a watermelon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the tongue is wiggling out the top, dude. It's just flapping in the wind there, Barrett. This is one of the most ridiculous death scenes we have had in the Game of Thrones universe thus far.
Yeah.
The tongue
still
sticks up and out. And then we have to see it again when he's on the table later.
Yeah.
After they cut that dude's head off, Viserys almost dies again. Today's episode is also brought to you by Chime. What goes with a great wintertime vibe? How about a checking account with no monthly fees? Chime is a refreshing way to handle your money with no monthly fees, no maintenance fees, no minimum balance fees. It's how banking should be, and when you need to access your money, you can do so fee-free at more than 60,000 in-network ATMs at many locations like most Walgreens, 7-Eleven, and CVS. You can also send money to anyone, even if they aren't on Chime. Fee-free for you, no cash-out fees for them. Chime, no monthly fees, no vibe-killing fees. Sign up for a Chime checking account. Only takes 2 minutes, doesn't affect your credit score. Get started at chime.com/dragon. That's chime.com/dragon. Chime is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services provided by and debit card issued by the Bank Corp. Bank or Stride Bank NA, members FDIC, out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees apply, except at MoneyPass ATM in a 7-Eleven location, and at any Allpoint or Visa Plus Alliance ATM. Other fees such as third-party and cash deposit fees may apply. Rhaenys oversees the preparation of Vaemon's body for return to Driftmark. This is when we get the line from her about having been visited by the stranger many, many times. She's seen a lot of death.
Yeah. It cares not whether her eyes are open or closed.
Then at the dinner, what did you take away from that? Was there any, I just didn't really know what to make of this scene. It was like, okay, well, there's that dude with his head chopped off. She's just staring. It's like she was pondering what to do next, sort of, like where to go from here.
It mostly read as just like further development of Rhaenys as a character.
This is her husband's brother, right?
And just kind of, her
husband's somebody. I've never been clear on who Vaemond is.
Vaemond?
Yeah. Brother on the show.
Yes.
Didn't we discuss this on Patreon?
We did. It's possible that in the books he's actually different. Like a different relation, like a nephew or something.
But on the
show he's Corlys' brother.
Vaemond. Okay.
Vaemond. Yeah, so I thought, it was just there to kind of like strengthen her character.
I didn't really see her reaction when Vaemon's head got chopped off. I'm looking forward to rewatching the episode for this reason. I didn't really get to see how each individual, or even if they showed us.
I don't think they really showed a whole lot of that. They were too busy with the waggling tongue.
Yeah.
But
rightfully so.
Yeah, she's comfortable being in there. She's also been through a lot of strife, a lot of struggle. This is something that she's very familiar with. So if anything, for me, it was just like, we're not done with Rhaenys yet either.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Good point.
So.
At the dinner that Viserys demanded Otto put together, Alicent and Rhaenyra sit on either side of the king spot, like Barrett said at the top of the episode. Not good placement.
Yeah, You can't let this guy middle.
Can't do it.
He's not gonna. He stands up. And he does the one big, awesome speech that gathers everybody's attention. But the rest of the time, he's just struggling to get some wine down.
This isn't the vibe setter.
Right.
This is not the tone setter you want.
He needs to be on the edge, right, on the end, the head of the table.
Like you said, put him out to pasture.
Yes.
Put him out there. They carry him in. At first, I thought they were rolling him, and I was like, whoa, Tyrion did not invent the wheelchair for Bran. Yeah. But no, they carried him, so maybe that's still the case. Alicent prays over the dinner to the mother and the smith and asks that the gods give Vaemon Valerian rest, which is obviously a slightly controversial line.
Yeah, kind of a jab.
The man who chopped his head off is a few seats down. Viserys says this is a celebration, and it's kind of a funny line because this is the complete and total opposite of a party. And like we just discussed, this man's vibes reek of death.
Yeah.
Not fun. And he toasts to Jace and Luke marrying Baela and Rhaena, and to the future Lord of Tides, Prince Lucerys. And then he makes his speech. He takes off his mask, shows him that his eye is gone, and I'll read you some of it. I wrote some of it down.
Okay.
My own face is no longer a handsome one, if indeed it ever was, but tonight I wish you to see me as I am. I said this to my wife the other night. Not just a king, but your father.
This was your vows.
Yeah. Your brother, not this part. Your husband and your grandsire, who may not, it seems, walk for much longer among you. Let us no longer hold ill feelings in our hearts. The crown cannot stand strong if the house of the dragon remains divided. Set aside your grievances, if not for the sake of the crown, then for the sake of this old man who loves you all so dearly. I don't think they're going to do it, Barrett. Just FYI. I don't think they're going to put aside their differences for this old man. I think his dying wish will go unfulfilled.
Yeah.
And that most of these people will die screaming.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to go very smoothly.
But what a speech from Viserys.
And then Viserys actually kind of, incidentally he shoots himself in the foot here at the very end of the episode. But
yeah.
Great speech. This whole episode, I in large part, I kind of felt like I was just getting like the Patty Considine Emmy reel.
It was good. I mean, I didn't think it was too over the top with it, though. Like, that didn't occur to me like, okay, they're just shipping Patty this whole episode. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't too over the top. But yes, he got good stuff to chew on. Yeah. And man, some of the effects they used.
And just the kind of the transformation through hair, makeup, and also performance to like make this dude like, just knocking at death's door.
And CGI too
was something.
How did they? Like they must have used the same technology they used from Benjamin Button to like put his head on a tiny little dying man's body.
Right. You know what I mean? When he's getting, yeah. Well, they got all sorts of, I mean, didn't you watch the latest season of What We Do in the Shadows?
No, I haven't finished it yet, but I know Colin Robinson is this tiny baby man.
Yeah, he's a tiny baby.
Like, I saw episode 1.
And then some kid, and then a kid, and then a teenager.
Oh, he grows up? Okay, good.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean...
No, I assumed we got very quickly back to Colin Robinson as a grown man character on the show. Otherwise, it would just be weird.
So they're even utilizing it on What We Do in the Shadows.
If you're not watching What We Do in the Shadows, phenomenal comedy available on Hulu. Rhaenyra stands and says she wishes to raise her cup to her grace the queen, and you see a real effort from Rhaenyra here to try to smooth things over. She feels her dad's speech. She sees what's happening. She obviously is heir to the throne still. It is preferable to her that everybody stop fighting, right? Yeah. She's in the same camp as her dad. Rhaenyra speaks very kindly of Alicent, though, gives her gratitude and an apology, and Alicent then in turn stands up and says that her graciousness moved her deeply. They're both mothers. They love their children. She raises her cup to Rhaenyra and to her house and says, "You will make a fine queen," and everyone drinks. And Viserys puts on his mask again so nobody has to stare into his brain hole, and everything seems like just for a second it might be okay. And then Aegon offers himself sexually to Jace's betrothed, and you see very quickly that these people are not going to get along. They're not going to get along, Barry.
Yeah, and I thought this is where I wanted to kind of come back to just like the way that obviously it's been talked about. The showrunners have talked about how this is like a generational show, and that's part of what they are trying to do and what they are trying to say. And then you kind of talked about like some of the political allegories that we can see in this show, you know, just about how two sides can't actually come together because
everybody believes what they believe.
Everybody keeps right. And then at the people that could, you know, burn it off and cauterize it, right? Continue the messiness, continue
to fail doing
continue the fighting. They don't actually. So even if there's somebody above them that is able to kind of like bury the hatchet and shake hands and move on and move forward,
then the next generation keeps it going.
Right, the next generation keeps it going. And so that's what stood out to me here in this scene is it's like even before the Viserys and Alicent scene at the end, but after Rhaenyra and Alicent like really have this genuine moment and you like see the very small window for actual reconciliation and
peace.
Actual, you know, moving on and peace and fine. Like, let's just let this thing be and like live our lives.
And the
like,
succession being solidified.
Not kill each other over all of this. It's like, yeah, but the kids aren't going to let that happen.
Yeah, they're not.
They are going to fuck this up.
Yes.
Even if you two decide
that you're going to be peaceful,
that it's over.
They won't let that happen. Yeah.
Also, a good time. We had a call on Patreon this past week that went purely off of the next episode.
Yeah.
Like next week on Thrones, basically, for this episode.
Right.
And the take was that it looked like they had switched the noses of Prince Aegon and Aemond.
Right.
That basically, like, the actors should be flipped for their roles.
Yes.
And I got to say,
because of their noses specifically.
Because of their noses specifically is what he had been able to call out, like just like from the trailer alone. I got to say, he was right.
Yeah. He was right about the schnoz, man. It was a little confusing at first.
The guy playing Aemond kind of looks more like the kid that played Aegon. And vice versa. So
a lot of recasting for this thing, man.
I just thought that was funny and interesting, and yeah, both of these guys, they're both kind of loose cannons, it would seem.
Yeah. So when Aegon makes this offer to Jace's betrothed, Jace smacks the table, and like everybody looks at him. So then he has to fake a toast, and like as that's unfolding, we get the shot of Otto being very pleased that chaos is brewing. You can tell he's like, "Yes, good. Hate each other. Let the hate flow through you." We get a shot of Helena, who quickly says, "Beware the beast beneath the boards." I'm getting sick of this chick already. She is exactly like the three symbols before Ozark. By the time whatever she was talking about actually happens, I've forgotten that she even gave a hint.
Wait, when did she say beware what's beneath the boards?
The beast beneath the boards.
Beneath the boards.
It's our latest Helena poem to deal with.
When does she say that?
At this dinner. They just like... shit is starting to build, and they just like cut over to her real quick, and she spits that out, and then it's on back to the episode.
Okay.
But then somebody else stands up and makes a toast. She's drunk chick, Everyone's making a toast. It's like a wedding reception.
Yeah.
Again, Aegon married his sister. This is the scene where I figured that out and put it together. Who Jace goes and dances with immediately to piss him off, to further the tension. Viserys starts to pass out in his chair, so they quickly have him carried away because he's killing all the vibes, and you can't harsh these vibes. We're trying to celebrate here.
Yeah, there's music, there's dancing.
There's a pig.
I thought that he was going to die right there at the table.
Yeah.
I thought he had his moment of happiness.
And then it was over,
and
right?
then he was like, I'm out.
Man, I wish he had.
And I kind of wish he had.
Really wish he had not made it out of that room.
You never know what could have happened.
Oof. So a pig is brought in and set down in front of Aemond with one eye. And it's a weird moment where I was like, is he upset? Did somebody order that pig to call him a pig? Is there some joke I'm missing? What the hell? But I think it was more just like, look at Aemond stewing and waiting for his moment to freak out on everybody.
It's a callback to when they gave him a pig dragon.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So they did order the pig for him.
I don't think it was on purpose. I think the feast is continuing. They bring out the
and it just reminds
suckling,
him, perhaps.
And and him and Luke, who cut his eye out, by the way, don't forget that part.
Yeah.
Are both still sitting at the table and kind of like looking at each other, and the pig gets set down, and Luke looks at him, looks at the pig, and starts laughing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
sets him off.
That sets Aemond off, yeah.
He makes a toast to Jason, Luke, and Joffrey, each of them handsome, wise, strong.
Took me a solid 12 seconds to be like,
oh,
I see what he did there.
Oh, sick. Because then he lays another one on there. He's like, come, let us drain our cups to these 3 strong boys.
Yeah.
And a fight breaks out. And it's pretty rough. There's heads smashing into tables.
Yeah, somebody gets their head
I thought that dude was a goner. But he needs to go into CTE protocol immediately because he's not all right.
Get reviewed for a concussion.
He does. Yeah. Daemon intervenes in this fight, though, and he steps up to Aemond, and you kind of see well, this would be sick. Mm-hmm. You guys should fight, right? Mm-hmm. Come on, you guys. And then it diffuses. Aemond is not up to the task and does not want to fight Daemon and leaves the room.
All the boys get sent to their chambers.
Yeah, this is his palindrome, by the way. Daemon and Aemond are the same. Letters are switched around.
Not a palindrome.
Not a palindrome. What's that called?
I think it's an anagram.
Palindrome's when it's the exact reverse.
No, palindrome.
So that'd be Namiad.
No, palindrome is when it's spelled the same frontwards it is backwards.
Oh,
so like a race car.
Oh shit. Well, I don't know what this is called, but they got the same letters.
I'm pretty sure it's an anagram.
Okay.
Where it's a word jumble basically. It's
anagram.
The letters of Daemon's name, you mix those around and you can spell Aemond.
Cool.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And Rhaenyra tells Alicent it's best if they get back to Dragonstone and says she'll return to King's Landing on Dragonback after she sees the children home. She's basically like, okay, look, this is a mess. This is a stew that's boiling over.
Yeah, the longer we stay here, the more likely it is that somebody's child dies.
Yeah, so let me take the kids back home. I'll come back. We'll settle all this craziness because this isn't a safe place for children anymore. This scene was crazy. This was intense. I mean, it felt like a victory for Viserys until he has another health incident, like you said. I mean, thought he was going to die right there at the table.
Yeah.
Then obviously you have the conflict that brews over with the grandkids, and things don't look like we're any better off than we were before, which takes us to our final couple scenes here. First, we see the White Worm. The girl that goes to see her is the girl who brought the planned tea for Diana.
Yep.
So she's informing the White Worm perhaps of Aegon's sexual grievances. Maybe not. We don't really know. But that chick was in the castle. She knows Aegon is very bad. She is now informing to the White Worm, who I didn't know if we would see again at all.
I honestly thought maybe they were like, you know what?
Never mind.
Didn't work out. We're moving on.
I know that some of our Patreon listeners are going to be disappointed to see her back.
Yeah, but here she is. Welcome back, White Worm.
White Worm. So Alicent goes and gives...
Call her Dennis Rodman, because she's the worm out there.
Alicent goes and gives Viserys milk of the poppy, and he's wearing his puffy pirate shirt jammies. And he accidentally, at the second he started to say it, I was like, no, dude. And he accidentally gives her the Aegon's Dream, the Song of Ice and Fire. He says, he doesn't really give it to her. He says, "It is true, what he saw in the north, the prince that was promised, the prince to unite the realm against the cold and the dark. It is you. You are the one. You must do this. You must do this." He thinks he's talking to his daughter, Rhaenyra.
Yeah, because it's a continuation of the conversation.
Right, that she had asked about earlier. He didn't have the strength to answer. Now he's got the answer.
Yep.
My question for him is, sir, why didn't you say this earlier? Why? It's too little too late from Viserys in this episode. He makes the speech at the dinner. It's phenomenal. It would have been great if he had done it a decade ago. And I feel like he did a version of it, but it didn't fucking work. And he didn't stay on it. And this is brewed over to the point that it's unfixable. And now he's spewing family secrets to Alicent, who is not supposed to know these. She has no idea what she's even been told, really. Basically, she takes it as, you're supposed to be leader. You're supposed to be king.
Yeah, or that Aegon is supposed to be king.
Right.
That their firstborn.
Your line is supposed to take care of this.
Yeah.
And she says, "I understand, my king." And we see the cat's paw dagger in the foreground.
Are there any words in what Viserys says here that allude to Rhaenyra's bastard sons?
No.
Okay. All right.
I don't think so.
I thought, I couldn't tell if, I'm pretty sure this was just on me, not recognizing that this was like essentially like they had that conversation, he never answered, and now he's like basically just, it's as if she just answered or asked that question again, and now he's answering it.
Right.
It like really is that continuation.
Yeah.
Before I had realized that, I thought maybe he was trying to say that like her new sons are the ones that should be like, that should
I got you.
Should ascend the throne after her. But
no, that's not.
But no, it was just about finishing off the, yes, I believe in the prophecy. Yes, it should be you. Like, that's what this is all about. Yeah.
And he seems sure of it. And that's what takes us back to, like, why he's made all the decisions he's made about Rhaenyra in the first place, right? And then Viserys, we see him taking his final breaths and presumably his final breath as the screen goes black. And then we see his final words, his last words, "my love," which always seemed like it was this, he was really in love with that first wife that we saw die.
Oh, yeah.
Whose name escapes me. Emma, thank you. Spelled Aemma or some craziness. Right. And you have to imagine that's what he was probably seeing there in some way, shape, or form. But this was it. He didn't make it out.
He also, in one of those first conversations, the first conversation, I believe, on in his bed when he's talking to Rhaenyra, doesn't he call Rhaenyra his only child?
Yes.
Okay.
Why? Does she have brothers or sisters?
No, but he's got 3 kids with.
Oh, right.
With
oh, man, that didn't even occur to me.
Yeah.
Did not even occur to me. Yes, he definitely does call her his only child. Like, he doesn't even consider these kids with Alicent to be his real kids.
Yeah.
But his mind is so gone that it's like he's not managing this.
And I certainly didn't take that to mean like I haven't actually been fathering these kids.
Right. No, of
but
course
just
not.
the fact that that's the essentially the level that he that he puts Rhaenyra on is like his real
life,
his real life,
and then everything since has been kind of this secondary thing.
And Rhaenyra was the only child that came from that, and that this whole kind of second act has been nice to have in a nice family, but like not the fulfillment and the successor of the prophecy.
Let's give some credit to Paddy Considine here, as this was, I believe, if not his final scene, it was his final scene where he's alive. This guy did a really good job. As we noted, if not on just Patreon here as well, this is not a rich character in the books. Mm-hmm. He turned Viserys into a lot more than what he was given to work with on the page, or they did, right? Ryan Condal, the writing team, and Paddy Considine executing with the character. Yeah. It was great, man. It was a lot of fun to watch. Like you said earlier, that there's, Daemon has all the fun lines. I loved Viserys' like wit and sort of humor and bite to him in those first few episodes before he aged into oblivion.
Well, and I mean, to that end, like, more people were given more opportunities in the first half of the season.
That's true.
When the stakes were a little bit lower.
And everything was a little lighter.
And everything was slightly lighter. And then we also had, Millie Alcock and Emily Carey, who like were just a little bit more. They didn't have the weight of the world,
more youthful.
The weight of this entire burden on
like Rhaenyra does now,
like Rhaenyra and Alicent both do. They're both just stressed to the max here.
There's a shot of Alicent at the table. after everything's unfolded, where her eyes are just huge, and she's just like, I can't believe this is all. Yeah.
So yeah, there was some more lightness then. Now, as things have just gotten more and more and more serious, as this whole war kind of looms, and there are threats around every corner. Like, yeah, now Matt Smith, he also had like a couple of good smirks and kind of chuckles at the dinner table. And then even when he does like kind of like step in front of Aemond there and kind of like get in front of Rhaenyra's boys and Aemond, there's just kind of like this like look on his face of like, that he's ready.
Daemon is
dance.
Interesting because most characters like him are always the attention seeker, right? They're always the just think about like, Tyrion or Joffrey. Jaime was a different type. Jaime was more in line with where Daemon is at.
Yeah.
Where he didn't need to be the center of attention all the time. He just wanted his, right?
Yeah.
That's why we can't get a feel for him necessarily. He's still obviously, again, it continues to be the theme of the show.
Yeah, and on Daemon Watch, I would say that again, like, as we kind of experience the push and pulls of where the episode kind of steers you, like, he feels pretty solidly in Rhaenyra's camp at the moment. He
absolutely
is their devoted husband. He's now got 3 kids with her.
Right. To the point where when I saw the chick walking up to the White Worm, I thought that was Daemon in his
in his hood.
In his Assassin's Creed hood.
Yeah, I think that was...
And I was like, no, you've been doing good this episode, man.
Yeah,
but it was that chick.
Yeah. So, man, I'll tell you what, I am going to have a really difficult time, especially as it's been rumored that this show won't return until 2024. It's going to be real tough for me to not go look at the Targaryen family tree. Like,
between seasons?
Down to Daenerys.
You can't do it, man.
Yeah, probably going to do it, though.
But it will mess stuff up for you. To some extent.
Yeah, I guess, but
why do you need to look at it? Why?
Because
why do that?
Okay, because as we get more kids, right? Like, we just got 3 new kids entered into the show.
Yeah.
There's so many possibilities, right? Of like who does what and who becomes what. And then you think back to the Thrones days where they give us so much history on Targaryens, right? And there's all these people. There's like Aegon the Fourth, and there's like Maegor the Cruel, and then there's like the Mad King, and like I'm just dying to know. Like, I want to see the lineage of who
ties to who.
Yeah, of where all of the those big names that are referenced, of where they come from. And like, what, I'm just not supposed to do that for like the next 5 years? Like, I can't do that.
I'm not doing it. Dude, 2024 is in a year and a half-ish.
Yeah, but what, this show's going to go 4 or 5 seasons, right? Like
Oh, you've got the itch already. You're in trouble, dude.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
You might as well read the book. You might as well. Well, I mean, the book is the lineage, pretty much.
That's true. But it's
don't
just,
do it though. I wouldn't do it. I'm not doing it.
I've gotten very, very curious about all that as we.
Are you kidding me? I'm dying.
As more and more of these names like pop up, and you're like, oh, wait, is that? Wait, oh.
I'm having to Google the spellings for TikTok and shit, and like that's what pops up. It's like the family lineage stuff, and you have to completely blind yourself to it. It's brutal out there in the streets. This episode was another one that I found to be incredibly high quality, like really, really entertaining, suspenseful, kept me captivated the entire time.
Yeah,
had the action and some gore. It was great, man. I mean, look. That's 2 in a row that if you had given it to me as the penultimate or the finale, I would have been like, that was pretty solid.
Yeah.
And that's a lot building into these final 2. We've only got 9 and 10 left.
I'm with you. I thought that these 2 as like ramp ups to what are generally like the 2 biggest episodes of a season were pretty significant.
And impressive, just impressive to me, man. That's where I'm at. As a fan and as a person who also covers this for work, it is an interesting judgment, and so far this show has been incredibly I am surprised how good it has been. It has been better than my expectations for it.
Yeah,
like there are people arguing, oh, it's better than Game of Thrones through season 1, and I'm like, well, that's not fair. That's not fair. The budgets are nowhere near comparable. This is kind of like they've already done it. Now they know how to do it.
Yeah.
And they're executing a very similar type of story.
That's also just wrong, though.
And it's a completely different type of show. We're doing these time jumps. It's craziness.
Yeah.
But in general, I don't think that's a fair way to... You cannot compare those things like that. But my point is this. House of the Dragon season 1 through 8 episodes, just like I've said after 7 and 6. It's been amazing. It's been awesome.
Yeah, we continue to have this conversation as well. Like, it's just impossible to not compare this show to Game of Thrones. So we're going to make references like that, right? Like comparing season 1 of Dragon
with season 1 of Game of Thrones.
But the thing is, you had no expectations during season 1 of Game of Thrones. You had no idea what was coming next. You had no idea how many seasons there were going to be.
That show set the expectations for this show.
Exactly. So it's like it's weird because we can't live that way. We can't have that same outlook and the way that we view and critique the show with Dragon, because there is
too many differences.
There is this set of references that we like can't pull out of our head, and they are connected because this is technically a prequel. I'm with you. I think these last 2 episodes have been really good. If the word on the street is to be believed, and there won't be time jumps in season 2, I am looking forward to see what they do with that. Like if they're able to add more of the kind of like extracurricular characters that they did so well in the first show, a little bit more, a few more moments for levity, lightness, and humor. Because Tyrion brought a lot in season 1 of Game of Thrones.
He did, a whole lot. There hasn't really been a character that carries the entertainment value that he carries,
the way
right?
that he did, yeah. And then, I almost feel like
Daemon being the closest,
the whole Song of Ice and Fire thing, not that it will stop being referenced, but Viserys is like really the torchbearer for that. And so with him gone, I don't know if it I'll be interested to see how it kind of factors in moving forward, or if it's more of just like something that's kind of in the background, because it doesn't bother me, but
I think you have to accept at this point that it's in the foreground.
Yeah.
It has been mentioned in 3 or 4 different episodes and was just used as Viserys' death scene to accidentally pass the wrong information to Alicent to continue this bloodshed.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily know that it is going to go away, man.
Well, because here's the thing. We know that eventually it gets lost.
Because it doesn't make it to Dany.
It doesn't make it to Daenerys.
Well, but she also was never the heir, made heir by a king who would have been able to give it to her. So
you're saying it potentially could have been with Rhaegar.
Could have existed there somewhere. Because didn't that dude at Castle Black end up telling Jon Snow something, or he knew something? Anyway, never mind.
Yeah.
But yes, Game of Thrones was awesome. It's funny. I was looking at the streaming numbers, and it's Rings of Power obviously is crushing it, which I'm about to get caught up on in the next couple of days. It's been quite good. But the 2 other biggest shows in the world are House of the Dragon, and then sliding in at number 3, Game of Thrones, because this show has made so many people either rewatch or start Game of Thrones that the 3 biggest shows in the world right now are Rings of Power, House of the Dragon, and Game of Thrones. And those numbers are reported off of the streaming stuff and probably favor the Hobbit folk in some way. Okay, I'm just saying. I'm not necessarily sure
you read
House of the Dragon is lower than Rings of Power.
Oh, okay.
But this number sheet had that was the order for those 3.
Got it.
Based on those particular numbers. Anyway, Barrett and I will be back on Thursday, further dissecting and discussing, what was it? Lord of the Tides, episode 8 of House of the Dragon on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles, fueled by hotline calls from our supporters in the Mollusk Militia tier. If you want more OCC, if you want more discussion around each of these individual episodes, we've got an ad-free premium episode comprised of hotline calls from the Mollusk Militia, driving further conversation about each episode in this season so far. And if you join on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles to support our show and Bolin Media today and Barrett and I and what we do here, then you will gain access to our entire backlog immediately, all the episodes that are available for the other episodes of this season so far, all the podcasts, as it were. You will gain access to them immediately. So go to patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles today. Join either the Crustacean Nation for just $5 a month or the Mollusk Militia if you want to gain access to video of those Patreon episodes, as well as our Discord and our hotline number, so that you can call into the hotline and potentially hear your call played and responded to on our Patreon episode this week or next week or for the finale in week 10. Patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. It's been a blast. I think we've got nearly 2,000 people in there with us enjoying the episodes every week. The hotline calls are great. It brings up a lot of stuff that, not only that sometimes we forget to touch on certain things here on the podcast as we have to cover everything from the whole episode, but other things we didn't get to go as deep as perhaps we would like to. They're very important topics that need further dissection and discussion, and that's where we get that done on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. We appreciate y'all for going and checking out the show even further there. Also, if you want to further support us, go get some merch, get a hat, get a shirt, Save a Horse, Ride a Dragon, Tanner Lannister, official fan club, OCC logo, bolinmedia.com/shop. Support our sponsors. This week we had, FelixGrayGlasses.com/OCC for free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges, and Chime.com/dragon. Go and support our sponsors as well. Follow us on social media on TikTok at Oysters, Clams, and Cockles. We've been popping off on TikTok, Barrett. I don't know if you've seen it. We're doing it, though. We're popping.
Ross, last night I discovered that TikTok has really, really pigeonholed me in a way that it doesn't reflect well upon your boy.
What is it giving you?
Right now, the only thing that I am getting served is women doing dances to early 2000s hip-hop.
That sounds amazing.
But
it's problematic.
It's problematic,
but amazing on a level. Now,
but how did it? I didn't tell it that that's what I wanted to see.
I'll tell you.
It incepted me and it said, I think this is what you want, and who am I to say no to the TikTok algorithm? So
at one point, my algorithm was a real mess on there, Barrett. On the TikTok machine, there was a lot of stuff that I didn't need to be seeing.
You can get at me at the Discord or tweet at me to confirm or deny this but I'm genuinely curious about on the algorithm. Go follow us, by the way, on TikTok while you're there.
Yeah.
I can't decide if this is just my algorithm or a general trend, but if you were to believe my TikTok feed, Yin Yang Twins is back. They are back, baby.
I don't think that's the case.
And I'm here for it.
I think that's just you.
That's just you?
That's just how good that algorithm is. That's just how good their algorithm is. It's catering to you, man. Yin Yang in this thing. Oysters, Clams, and Cockles on TikTok. Oysters, Clams, Cockles on Instagram. Clams and Cockles on Twitter. At Barrett Dudley on Twitter and Instagram. At WR Bolin is mine. Shout out to the Yin Yang Twins, by the way. Go listen to the Ross Bolin podcast wherever you listen to Oysters, Clams, and Cockles. Full episodes of our podcast are available on YouTube all season long. Shout out to everybody watching on YouTube. We appreciate y'all. Comment, like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff that you do. We'll be back later this week, patreon.com/Oysters, Clams, Cockles for further discussion and analysis of the Lord of the Tides. Until next time, Clam Fam, peace.
But both my brothers were soldiers.